Coming to you from deep in the flyover states, we review WWF Survivor Series 1998. This is the Golden Age of Grappling Podcast. Hello, hello, hello. This is the Golden Age of Grappling Podcast. I'm the host, co-host, I assume, Deadpool 1205, DP, or Brandon. And on the other side...
Oh my gosh. Just coming in with that host stuff, huh? I mean, I guess we haven't really discussed that.
I meant to put you as a host.
I mean, no.
I just realized that
it's fine. That's fine. I'm just the fucking sidekick.
No, I realized that if I had said it the way that I was saying it, it did make it sound like you were a sidekick. Where I was like, no, but it's difficult to announce two people at the same time and call them both hosts because the second person's going to sound like they're less. But I don't know. I don't believe so. You're just a co-host.
Well. We can discuss this later, but I think our chemistry has already been affected tonight. But go on. Oh, by the way, I'm Tony G, the lovable sidekick. Apparently.
All right. This week we can't get started though without at least mentioning the crazy news that happened that rocked the wrestling world. Everyone's talking about it. Am I right?
Yeah. Hell yeah. What news are you talking about?
No, that's the point. I don't know. Anything could have happened this week, and I would not have known because I've been playing Fallout for the entire week, and I've ignored even cleaning up my room. This chair back here is actually, I don't know if you can see the chair in the video on your end, Tony, but the chair is actually blocking all of the trash that I've mounded up because I didn't want you to see as we did the podcast.
Well, I too have been playing Fallout. I don't have a chair hiding trash in the back room, but I understand. I have been a bit distracted, but that's but that leads us to our choice of the day, and that is the Survivor Series 1998, which we are doing.
Yeah.
As a with the current tournament taking place, it just kind of felt like it made sense to look back at the last time there was a tournament featured for the WWE title at Survivor Series.
It's just crazy the timing that it's happened, because I guess it's only happened, that time and then once more in like 2001 or 2004 or something like that?
As far as there being
I thought there was something about like another tournament for the title at a pay-per-view.
You might be right. You might have caught me off. I mean, WrestleMania 4, there was a tournament for the WWF title, but...
Okay, maybe that's the one that I was thinking of and just got the years wrong. All right. I don't know, yeah, so this one, it took place on November 15th of 1998, so right around the same time of year that we're recording this, right before Thanksgiving.
And maybe I'm wrong, but it was in St. Louis. I feel like in the short time we've been reviewing shows, haven't we come across St. Louis a couple times? Or am I thinking of, or is that Detroit?
Yeah, we did Detroit a couple times already.
Yeah, that's what it was. Okay, that's what it was. I got confused because I was like, as soon as it was St. Louis, I was like, my God, how have we managed to do that? But no, you're right, it was Detroit, so...
I mean, St. Louis, though, they do a lot of stuff from St. Louis. It's a big wrestling town. People love it over there. So,
and it's in the middle.
I'm sure that we'll do plenty of shows from that. Yeah, exactly. It's a good location for people to travel to. So, before we get into the actual thing, I wanted to just think about, I just wanted to get your opinion on the difference in the two rosters of these tournaments. What are your thoughts as far as, so let's real quickly, before we get into the actual show, let's run down these rosters. In 1998, the roster consisted of The Rock, going into the tournament, that are playing in the tournament. Right. The Rock, Stone Cold, Mankind, Al Snow, Jeff Jarrett, Big Boss Man, Steven Regal, X-Pac, Ken Shamrock, Goldust, Undertaker, Kane, Triple H, and Dwayne Gill.
I mean, I hate comparing things to the Attitude Era because, I mean, that list right there, there's no fucking argument for, how great that is. Now, there's a few things, we'll get into it with the show, like Triple H actually wasn't there, and...
Yeah.
But that didn't really hurt the star power a whole lot. But, I'll still say the participants in the current WWE Heavyweight title tournament were, aside from some oddities in the first round, like Titus O'Neil...
yes.
I feel like it's pretty good, too, and the Final Four has really shaken out to be, what I think is going to be pretty entertaining.
No, yeah, that's the thing is when I first remember the tournament being announced, I was really down on I was just like, oh, those are the guys?
Right.
But, they got rid of most of those questionable people early on, and so then it moved on to a tournament that, yeah, I've enjoyed what I've seen of it so far.
And And I would say the difference, too, is in 1998, I mean, The Rock was ascending, but he was already pretty well over. The current tournament is really kind of could be kind of an interesting point in history for the company, because these are the guys that it's going to be on their shoulders going forward.
Okay.
You know, like, but they're young and up and coming. You know, it's not like we're Austin and Undertaker and Mankind. Those guys had already taken that so-called brass ring or whatever the hell it is.
Yeah.
And we're running with it, you know. So like this tournament, these guys it was more established guys. You know what I mean?
That's true. Yeah.
Where the current tournament, it's more like almost like a young Lions type of a situation. You know what I mean? Like it's.
Well, you also have to remember that like the current roster is very much more. It's more like the '95 roster versus the '98 roster. You know, like maybe we're just 3 years away from having all those established guys if they play their cards right.
That's what I mean. I think that these tournaments, the rosters are in different points. You know what I mean? Like, one roster is transitioning, where in 1998, it was, these guys had, you know, built it up and they were established. So, you know, those names already carried, you know, those were already the top guys, not only in that company, but in the world.
So the beginning of the show, we get a video package about just the tournament and being the deadly games and all that stuff, and everybody's very intense.
I loved the video. The video was great because it does what a fucking pay-per-view intro video should do. You could watch that video having not watched Raw for a month, and you were pretty well up to speed on what to expect. You know,
that's true.
It set the stage very well. Now, that song, on the other hand, was one of the worst things I'd ever heard.
Oh, God, are you serious? I love that music.
It's a deadly game. Or whatever the hell.
Deadly game. I love that song, man. I was talking to myself when you walked off to get walked off headphones before we started recording, because I had realized that I number all the sound bites, and I had left number 2 open, and then when I went to put them into the soundboard, I couldn't remember what number 2 was supposed to be. And it was that music that I wanted to play. Right. So it was just like, I love that song. I mean, when I listened to the full version of it on YouTube, I realized how terrible it is, because then you don't just hear the chorus like during the pay-per-view you do.
Right.
But yeah, it's not great, obviously. I enjoyed it. I thought it was funny, but it definitely not good. JR welcomes us to St. Louis and brings in the King. And then they show us the bracket.
Ah, yes, the bracket.
And on the bracket, Kane and Undertaker just get buys into round 2.
Yeah, those sons of bitches.
It was just set up really strangely, the way that they did like the various buys and like ways to make it so that they didn't have matches in various lines as we go through the show.
Because it was almost smart in a lot of ways too. You know, there was only a couple of guys that actually fought all of their matches. You know, like they kind of found ways to get around things or end matches quickly, or it was. I was pretty impressed with the way it was set up like that. Now, the endings of every match got a little bit annoying after a while, but we can talk about that later.
Yeah. And that was one of the things when I first saw the bracket, I was just like, oh, really? Kane and Undertaker get a buy into round 2? But then once I saw the match, I was like, yeah, I don't know what would have been gained by having them have random matches against other people in order to be able to go against each other later.
Right.
So it's like, yeah, it makes sense. It's fine. We get McMahon in full heel mode with his wheelchair.
Yes, yep.
And surrounded by his goons, his stooges, his chair people.
Those stooges, sir, include the first ever Intercontinental Champion, Pat Patterson, Gerald Briscoe of one of the greatest tag teams of all time, and the great Sergeant Slaughter. Actually, Sergeant Slaughter's not that great.
Sergeant Slaughter, I enjoyed watching Sergeant Slaughter in this role. Because it's almost a completely non-speaking role. He's just kind of in the back, and he just emotes the whole time. Right. And it's fucking awesome to watch. I started paying attention to him, and I was like, I really didn't seeing his other earlier days when he was just wrestling, I didn't see the full potential of his ability.
Right. Well, and at this point, he was probably a lot happier once the corporation thing started to form, because up to this point, all he had done is pretty much just been made fun of and tortured by DX. So he was probably happy to be part of McMahon's little stable there.
Yes, and Gerald Briscoe is a highlight of this show. I enjoy him every time he gets to speak.
That's why those guys were on TV. Like as a kid, I didn't fucking I was like, well, who are these guys? But when I watch this stuff now, I'm like, man, those guys are gold. Like they're absolute awesome. Gold. They were J&J Security before J&J Security, and they did it better,
Yes. So McMahon is actually here to explain to us who Mankind's mystery partner for round 1 of this tournament is going to be?
Opponent, not partner. One quick thing, too. Did you notice the blimp advertising? Like, man, that is something you don't see anymore. Like, the old, like, inflatable blimp floating around the arena. It was for crunch bars.
Just being in people's way as they try to watch wrestling.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, Jesus, man, this is already, like, the period where everybody had a sign and you couldn't see anything. Now let's put a blimp in the way.
The fans chant for HBK for the intro of this mysterious opponent. I'm sure that happened all throughout these years.
Oh, yeah.
Anytime anyone was a mystery.
Yes.
McMahon makes the guy out to be a world beater and then introduces Dwayne Gill.
Now, this was... Mankind had come out, though. You skipped over... Like, I loved Vince delivering the one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. And then Mankind came out, and he was in his full corporate mode at this point. You know, he had his the suit on with the bow tie. I was also really impressed with how good the hardcore title looked. Like, a lot of my only memories are, like, you know, the later years of it, when that thing was, like, a piece of shit, you know? And at this point, it was really only a broken heavyweight title. It was kind of odd to see that. And I also love that Vince used the southern drawl when he said WCW. WCW.
Yeah, you can tell that's definitely in full swing, man. That whole shit.
This is fucking 1998, man. Like, I think this is before WWE had even turned the corner.
Oh, really?
You know what I mean? Like, I think this was probably during the streak or whatever. I'm not sure about that, but I don't think things had gotten great yet.
Yeah, so
anyway, I'm sorry, continue.
The introduction. Yeah, we go into match number 1, Mankind versus Dwayne Gill. The match lasts about 60 seconds. Mankind hits the double arm DDT and pins Dwayne Gill. Mankind's match and end music plays.
Now, you have to go back to when Dwayne Gill entered. I loved that he had a Titantron video. And, like, Jim Ross even, like, was, like, annoyed by it. Oh, he's even got himself a Titantron video, you know, like, and it was of him getting his ass kicked. Like, there was, like, him getting a splash from Snuka, and, like, it was all this video from him when he was an enhancement jobber guy in, like, the early 90s. So it was, he jumped when his pyro went off, which was kind of funny because that's something that he would continue to do when he became Gillberg. He would come out and they'd spray him with fire extinguishers instead of smoke. And he'd, you know, like, bat through that and start coughing, and then, like, some bad pyro would go off, and he'd get scared, you know, and then he'd, you know, keep walking out.
So this is pre-Gillberg?
Yeah, this was him before, like, I think, you know, I feel like he gets in with the Job Squad, Al Snow's little group, and then he becomes Gillberg, or maybe it's the other way around, but yeah, they haven't done Gillberg yet.
Okay, so I also enjoyed his was it a jacket or a T-shirt that had a team on it?
Yeah,
and it looks like a very official team. And then, like, they make mention as it gets down there, they're like, it's actually an 8th grade girls soccer team or something.
No, he was the coach of an elementary school football team.
There it is.
They were like the Pasadena Sharks. I don't remember what it was, but yeah, that was hilarious. Like, how bad he was. And according to JR, this was the first time he'd seen Mankind do the double arm DDT.
Oh, really? I didn't hear that part.
Yeah, so I thought that was kind of interesting. Like, well, it's the first time he's used that move. You know,
okay.
So I thought that was an interesting historical note.
Well, yeah, and it'll play into the rest of the night because he keeps trying it.
Right.
We go backstage to hear from Sable. She's pissed and more determined than ever.
Right. Yeah. This is a Sunday Night Heat update. I love any time, like, Sunday Night Heat gets in there a little bit. Like, that's awesome stuff.
I feel like there were at least a few matches on Sunday Night Heat that I enjoyed as a kid, like watching before the pay-per-views. Like, I don't know why they're not, like, gonna upload any of those, it doesn't seem like.
Well, I mean, other than us, probably no demand for, you know what I mean? Like, I wish they just put fucking everything up. I'd watch it at some point, you know, I'll watch an old Velocity. I want to see Billy Kidman fight Paul London, you know, in 2005, but that's just me. I also liked that ROH lead announcer, Kevin Kelly, was the backstage interviewer for this segment with Sable.
Holy shit, I didn't even notice that.
Yeah, Kevin Kelly was with the company. He even had some play-by-play opportunities. I think, you know, one of the times JR went down with his, like, Bell's palsy stuff, so.
Okay.
He was on Raw, I don't know how regularly, but he got to announce for, I feel like, some period of time, and he was the backstage guy that got shit on by the dude he was interviewing all the time, so.
That makes sense. Yeah, news about Kevin Kelly. He just was announced that him and Matt Striker are doing Wrestle Kingdom 10 this year.
Now, see, I got to stop you there for a second. I wonder what's wrong I wonder what happened with Jim Ross.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I don't know if that's just like a thing with him wanting to travel or not.
Well, I don't know, because he talks even recently on his podcast about his interest in doing it, and people are asking him on Twitter about it, and he's like, I don't know, so that's just odd that I wonder if maybe his price was too high or something.
See, that's what I assumed, that it was a price thing where they were just like, look, we only have, 20,000 subscribers. Most, most of those aren't American, and so we'll just, do it as we can.
Yeah,
but.
well, and I'm a little surprised, too, because we talked about on this show the chemistry between Mr. Kelly and Mr. Stryker leaves a lot to be desired at this point. Like, I don't know if they had jet lag or what, but there was some uncomfortable silence and some major toe stepping during that during that New Japan show.
Yeah, no, I'm hoping that, from now until then, Kevin Kelly gets a lot of time watching some New Japan content to understand some of the characters, and then also they can, hang out with each other for a couple days.
Right. And God love Matt Striker, and I do. But he's got to remember, he's the color commentator in this situation. This isn't Lucha Underground, where Vampiro's just happy to sit there and react like a fan while you do both. You gotta lay out and let Kelly call the action, and then you can come in with your 30-second explanation about it, all right? But that's how that's gonna work. You can't do both anymore. Kelly's a classic play-by-play guy. Anyway, sorry.
All right, so, we go to match number 2, sir.
Yes, it's Jeff Jarrett, Double J, with Deborah McMichael versus Al Snow with Head. And I gotta tell you, man, Al Snow was over.
Specifically,
not Steve
Austin. I actually
Austin.
have that recorded.
Oh,
because let's give that a listen. This is the reaction to Al Snow coming out, because I was amazed. I was like, man, they fucking love this guy.
Big here, weeks and weeks ago.
What does everybody want? His opponent from Lima, Ohio, weighing 246 pounds, Al Snow.
Al Snow and his fans here in attendance.
Yeah, I still cannot believe that. These people are actually cheering for Al Snow and that stupid head.
that's such a classic WWE move, too. Like, when a guy gets, a organic fan following, when it starts, they try to fucking poo-poo it. Even like Daniel Bryan, or it's always all the city they're in, or they always when it wasn't their idea for the fans to cheer for that guy that loud, they always historically will make little comments like that. Oh, his family must be here tonight. It's just always something shitty like that. Hey, we didn't tell you guys to cheer for that guy yet. All right, you guys calm down. All right.
Yeah, no, he looks. Yeah, they go nuts for Al Snow on the way out. Before he came out, though, I wanted to mention Jeff Jarrett looking fully like a greased up Duke Nukem at this point.
Right. Yeah, just without the muscles. That might be the only problem. Jeff Jarrett. Hey, I'm happy for some of his contributions to the business, but going back and watching as much wrestling as I have, I don't know how that guy survived. I mean, he just went between the companies, never getting over, and then they took him back. He was he was in WWF, and then he was in WCW, and then it's I don't know why they kept taking him back, but he had something they wanted.
Oh yeah, it seems like it. They show an outside shot just before Al Snow's entrance, though. Why don't they have giant blow up wrestlers outside the arenas anymore? Why is that not a thing? That is awesome.
Because first of all, I don't know how those things weren't destroyed. I don't know. I'm surprised, because I'm surprised someone didn't just go over there and poke it and cause it to deflate. But that was pretty cool. They had inflatable wrestlers the size of the parking garage outside the arena.
And I was thinking, I wonder how much those cost. What would be the price where Vince would be yeah, fine, sell it out of the warehouse, get rid of it.
That might be the thing right there, the cost.
I just was interested in also. I thought it would be a good idea this year, being the 25th anniversary of Undertaker, pull that thing out of the thing for the pay-per-view this month.
Right. It's the 25th anniversary, damn it.
Yeah.
You still got that thing somewhere.
Exactly.
First of all, I always thought Deborah McMichael has a certain Dolly Parton quality to her.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Where, like, you're not, like, blown away by her, but you're like, man, I wouldn't mind seeing those. And it always kind of amazed me, too, because Deborah, I feel like, was a trailblazer for the MILF movement.
Really?
Like, I just have to think, like, historically, because she was in WCW before this. She has what is now what I would consider a very classic MILF look to her.
Yeah.
And in 1996, 97, you know, when she was kind of popping up, that wasn't, you know, it hadn't been said in American Pie yet, okay? It didn't even necessarily exist. So, I mean, I think as a teenage boy, you know, it was like, I don't know what I find attractive about her yet, but I feel like in a few years it's going to be a thing.
I could see that, yeah. That makes sense. Also on the way down, Al Snow with the head wearing Sacco as a headband.
Yes, that was, and I don't know, I didn't watch the Raws before the show or anything like that, but Mankind was looking for Sacco.
Yeah.
And Sacco was around Al Snow's head, or around Head's head.
Yes.
I'm not sure how that happened, but it would later be revealed that Vince had something to do with it because he was very excited to see how Mankind would react when he saw it. So
yeah.
Anyway, sorry, spoiler alert about this match. Go on.
But also during the match with Deborah McMichael, JR stops to explain to us the character of Miss Deborah.
Deborah McMichael can be so easily described simply as a Jezebel. It's a what? Jezebel, no doubt about it.
Why would you say that? Look at
because she's a whore. I mean, that's what he's saying.
Like, is that a Southern thing? Because I've never heard anyone in my life except for JR use that reference.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think it's biblical, isn't it?
Well, yeah,
like,
but I figured, like,
right.
as far as in, like, common, speech.
Oh, yeah, no, absolutely. He is the only person that I've ever heard use the word. I would have never known the word if not for Jim Ross. So
she is a Jezebel.
It's probably a Southern thing, Western thing. I don't know. I'm sure he got it from somewhere. Stephanie McMahon is really the one I think of more. I just remember him always calling her a Jezebel.
Yeah.
During the McMahon Helmsley era, I feel like he got that one in there about every night.
So this was it was a good match. I enjoyed it. I thought it was a quick match.
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah, it's two guys that there's not going to be any question that they're going to go out there and have a decent match. The end was, I thought pretty interesting, but it became a reoccurring theme as there were shenanigans involved. Deborah gets up on the apron with Head,
yes,
distracting Mr. Snow. JR, I don't know if he meant to say this, but he says, what does she know about Head anyway?
I heard her say that, and I was really surprised that King didn't jump on it more than he did.
I don't know if they both were just like, that went over both of their heads, or they're just really that clever. I don't know. I might be giving Jim Ross too much comedic credit there. And then you get a little ref misdirection with Snow having the guitar taken out of his hands. He had brought Jeff Jarrett's guitar into the play.
Yes.
Ref takes that away. As the ref's doing that, Mr. Snow grabs Head and hits Jeff Jarrett for the win.
Yeah, and I wrote that down, was that this was very similar to last week's Benoit belt situation, where it was like she picks up Head to distract Al Snow and possibly give it to Jeff Jarrett. The ref takes away Head, drops Head down to right next to Jeff's head, and then leaves, and then goes after the guitar. It was just like, oh, okay. I mean, I guess that works, but...
Well, that ref was doing what he was supposed to do. You weren't supposed to be paying that close of attention, Brandon.
Yes. I wrote down here that the ref looks like Fat Ron Swanson, but then I also wrote down a note later that I'd come back to write down, only in wide shots. Close up, it's nothing like him.
I was going to say, I don't know. Are you talking about Timmy White?
Yes.
I don't know how to... Oh, was it Tim White?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess from a distance, you could say that. I don't know.
So now in round 2, Mankind versus Al Snow is set up. I have a very much looking forward to that note because I enjoy those two. And just reading Foley's books, you have to enjoy any time that those two get to wrestle each other.
Oh, yeah.
Match number 3, we get the Big Boss Man versus Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Let me stop you right there.
Yes.
Holy shit, man. Do you think there was enough Big Boss Man on this show?
I did not know how involved he was going to be in this tournament.
This show is a perfect example as to why the corporation needed to grow and get more wrestlers. Because it was like the only option they had to do all their bidding throughout the show was the Big Boss Man.
Yep.
I mean, and I'll talk more about it as as the appearances pile up.
And more ties.
And if there's anybody,
go ahead.
And if there's anybody on this show that I could care less to see, God rest his soul, Ray Traylor, it's the Big Boss Man. You know what I mean? Like one match with him was plenty. I wasn't exactly like, oh, I hope he's involved in the finish in every match throughout this tournament.
No, and I was just impressed in what happened in this match with him. I didn't expect him to get as much of a offense in as he does.
Well, this was just probably at the end of him being, he was a great wrestler. He was an entertaining wrestler. That was never the question. Yeah. And this match and about this time was just about the end of him being able to put together a good match. You know what I mean? Like 98, 99 when he worked at the Big Show and stuff. It was kind of his last good run.
Yeah, I wrote down in here that during this match, we get a lot of the ref doesn't see shit. And it's the second match in a row because in the last match, Jeff Jarrett poked the guy in the eye, and it was 2 feet from the ref's face, and he didn't see it.
Right. All I know is, and again, this is like something that happens later, I love Jim Ross. Because throughout this show, that's another thing that knows. Bad officiating. Questionable officiating.
Oh, yeah.
Like, just not calling the rules when it's convenient, overlooking things. And, like, at some point late in the show, Jim Ross is even like, man, these officials are awfully, just like, he says it. Because it's like, man, there's no way, like, there's a lot of people at home probably sitting there thinking the same thing I am. Like, man, these refs are just, like, calling the match however it was written.
Oh, yeah.
Like, how's this one work? No DQs this time? Okay, that's how it works.
Yeah, there's a lot of that throughout this whole show. We get lots of shots of McMahon watching on the tiny backstage monitor backstage.
Ah, yes, plotting and planning.
Yeah, I also have a note in here that I was just like, damn, those ropes are so loose, man.
Well, there wasn't really anybody jumping off of them
back in that time, man.
I mean, like nobody. I think they'd run Flash Funk off at this point. So, like, there was pretty much little to no use for the top rope. Real quickly, like, the Steve Austin reaction to the music still gives me a chill, man. Like, is, like, instant hair on my arms, like, standing up. Like, God damn, that shot of everybody in the arena jumping up to their feet at the same time.
Every time.
Losing their minds. I mean, there's nobody gets a reaction like that anymore.
Nope.
Like, the wrestler's inside thing is like a Road Warrior pop. And I would call it an Austin pop at this point, and nobody is even getting close to that. Daniel Bryan on his best day was maybe the closest in years that anybody's done.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just because of the divide with Cena, and the Cena sucks. Like, nobody gets that kind of a reaction.
And I don't know if it's a thing with the way that they mic the arenas now, but you never hear that same, like, sounding pop that you got with the Stone Cold stuff. Or, like, there's another pay-per-view, I think it was a Royal Rumble, when Stone Cold, like, came back from an injury to hammer The Rock with a chair and stuff. And I watched that video a few times because it's been posted every time I see it online. It's always, the biggest pop of all time sort of a thing. Because, like, the crowd's already going nuts for the match in there, and then Stone Cold comes out with a chair and just starts hammering people. And the place the sound sounds differently than anything I've heard in modern wrestling.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, that could have something to do with it. I think fans now just don't have that kind of passion. You know what I mean? There's a lot of people sitting on their hands out there.
Yeah.
Like, it's just I don't know. It's just not the same. And it might have something to do with the target audience and the demographic, and, the crowds were a little rowdier back then, maybe. I don't know, but it is just different. People don't react. I mean, shit, Al Snow. The reaction Al Snow got is probably about as good as Dean Ambrose gets on Monday Night Raw now.
Yeah.
Just as far as from a excitement and sound standpoint.
Yeah, that makes sense. The match ends after Big Boss Man hits Austin with the nightstick, so he gets disqualified. And then...
all right.
What's that?
Back up a little bit here. Stone Cold Steve Austin always starts his match wearing his vest. He never gets his vest off before the match starts. And that... I was like, I feel like that happened a lot, and then I think it happens in every match throughout this tournament. Like, the match always starts before he gets his vest off.
Well, that happens with all the wrestlers in that none of these matches have lockups. They just start fighting as soon as they get to the ring because there's just no time.
Right.
Just like,
right.
They just got to go.
No time.
So after the disqualification, it becomes apparent that Big Boss Man has been sent down here in a hit job and just starts destroying Austin with his nightstick. And we get this shot to the heart.
Here's what kind of shape is all right in the heart. Boston just throw the point of that nightstick right in the Rattlesnake's heart. He doesn't look much like a winner to me right now.
I thought it was so strange, the heart shot.
JR is so mad when the Big Boss Man is beating Austin up. He's so upset.
Oh, man, we get so much angry JR in this pay-per-view.
Oh, so much. And I love to. I don't remember when it happens at some point. I wrote it down, but like the King calls him out like, oh, you and Stone Cold. Like, you just love him so much. Like, just gets on him finally.
So after all this goes down, we go backstage and we get pre-blonde tips Michael Cole in his full young Vince McMahon announcer look.
Right? Yeah, that was at the time when Michael Cole was like, I'm just going to do everything I can to look exactly like Vince McMahon.
He's
I think that's the direction.
The guy that's in charge of me getting up and, gaining momentum in this company, might as well just look like him.
I'm not sure what his age was either when he got the blonde tips, but I feel like he was too old. He may have been playing, kind of able to look like a younger guy.
Yeah.
But I think he was too old. Like Josh Matthews was too old when he got his blonde tips.
Yes.
Who that I did that when I was in 7th grade. I was 14 when I thought that was a good idea, and it wasn't a good idea.
No,
but it just amazed me that these grown men would do that. I mean, obviously nobody does it anymore.
Yeah,
that goes into our next matchup in the WWF title tournament.
Yes,
we have X-Pac taking on the real man, William Regal.
Yes, and in fact, the real man's man. I had to play the whole thing because I love King singing along.
Oh, yeah, no, yeah, when King gets in there, that's great. It's kind of funny that, we watched this again because Dinner for Three or Table for Three, whatever it is on the network, just was King's Court, and it had Regal, Sheamus, and Barrett.
Oh,
and they
yeah.
They talked about that a little bit, and unfortunately, it's kind of a sad, dark time in Regal's life. He wasn't ready to be brought in. WWF hired him not really knowing why WCW had let him go.
Oh, really?
And that's because his drug habit, I guess, was kind of at one of its real bad times in his life.
Okay.
And so they kind of brought him in. That's why he's wearing shorts and weird shoes and a flannel jacket, because his body is not right. What was amazing is when he talked about it on that show, you'd think, man, he must have looked awful out there. And this was one of the best matches on the show. I was amazed at how great he worked because he talked about it like he was just useless at this point. It's man, you were pretty damn good, even if you were at your worst.
Yeah, I was wondering where that came from. If it was because my thought was maybe that this was, I didn't know he had just been brought in as this role or whatever. I was thinking maybe he had been given this as a punishment for something that he had gotten in trouble with.
Oh, no, he tells that story, too. And yeah, no, this was someone thought this was a good idea. So, yeah, that's why that happened.
Okay, so, during this match early on, we get JR's just mistaking people for other people.
Blackman goes about 240, 245. X-Pac giving up some weight here, obviously, but that's nothing new.
Whatever you're on, you need to cut the dose. That's not Blackman.
Blackpool up. Steve Regal, what are you on? Blackpool.
He's from Blackpool, right?
Yes, he is.
That's how offended he gets.
Yeah, you got to love King calling JR out, too. I'll tell you, though, JR might have said Steve Blackman instead of William Regal, but at least he doesn't say X-Pac like the King does. King is one of those fucking people, man. And it's it's been years now. Anyone that still pronounces it X-Pac, they're just obviously incapable of saying X-Pac.
Yeah.
It's not Pac. It's Pac. It always has amazed me that people are like, maybe they just can't get their mouth around it, saying it that way, and I guess that's fine. But it's just one of those little things that's always driven me crazy.
Yeah. My question to you: what year did X-Pac's face turn 40?
Sometime when he was 6 in the NWO, to be honest with you, because I just saw something recently where that showed like him in the crowd one of the first nights before he came out as 6.
Okay.
And he still kind of had like a 1, 2, 3 kid baby face, but he had grown like I think the goatee at that point.
Okay.
But he still looked like a baby. It was sometime between leaving WCW and showing up on Raw the night after WrestleMania 14.
Okay.
When it was like, what happened to the 1, 2, 3 kid, and who is this man? Like I don't know. And it got progressively worse fast.
Like even JR mentions he's like, the 26-year-old X-Pac, and I was just like, 26? The dude looks 36. Like, what is going on with this guy?
Yeah, I don't know. There was a couple of rough years.
This is the second match in a row to use an incidental headbutt to change momentum of the match. My question,
that's a classic move.
Why and when did the Bronco Buster get over? And why is it so over?
I don't know, because it's announced with a hint of disgust.
Yeah.
Even at this point. Now, obviously, that goes away, when it just becomes, the Bronco Buster, greatest move of all time. But I don't know. Like, I'd have to go back and look at like the history of X-Pac, because it may have even been something that he was doing in WCW. I almost have this odd recollection of him doing it as 6 in WCW, but I can't confirm nor deny that. Like, I don't know. But yeah, and the crowds loved it because, again, it was dumb college kids. It was the demographic. I don't know why. It was just probably something about the balls in his face. You know what I mean? Like, I just think that's why the people that loved it, and it just
that makes sense. I could see that happening. Yeah, I also during this match is when we got that you were alluding to it earlier, but I had it recorded. The King is upset with JR's enjoyment of Stone Cold.
McMahon and his colleagues are probably discussing which one of these men, the real man's man or X-Pac, would make the better opponent or the tougher opponent for Stone Cold. Who do you think, JR?
I don't think it makes any difference as far as McMahon is concerned, as long as Austin doesn't advance.
I heard the word forfeit. Maybe Austin's hurt so bad he won't even be able to wrestle this next match.
Austin's breathing. He's going to compete, and he's still breathing.
The Rattlesnake will slither out here no matter what. According to you, love him. His ribs are broken. He might not come out here.
X-Pac getting the advantage here.
JR just completely ignores it. He's like, fuck you, King.
That's what I love about every time that happens. There's this just silence for like 20 seconds. They just don't speak.
Like, he did the same thing with Heyman. Heyman would try like hell to get a rise out of him when he had when he sat next to him for that year or so when King was away for undisclosed reasons.
Yes.
Heyman was worse about it though. Heyman would dig, and there would just be like silence. Like JR would just lay out. Like, I'm not even gonna constitute that with a response.
Of course.
Basically, was I think his attitude about it.
Okay. So, do you have anything before the end of this match?
No, I was just gonna get to the end of this match.
Yeah.
We get a double count out, and then we get some good stooge stuff here.
I mean, first, real quickly, it's a double count out. It seems like Vince is acting like it's a draw, a time limit draw.
Right, that's true. You're right.
I felt like there was just confusion because it was like the double count out happened, and then everything after that, all the words that were used as we move into this, like, I demand an overtime, like,
yeah.
it all was like it had been a draw, not that they were just out of the ring.
So are you saying a double count out is a draw, isn't it?
But it's not a time limit draw.
Oh, well, no, yeah, you're right. Oh, I see what you mean.
Two men are disqualified versus just being the end of the match.
I got you. Yeah, to call for an overtime doesn't make much sense. I see what you mean.
Go ahead, yeah.
So and Slaughter, of course, runs away like with his tail between his legs out there to do it. King, in his infinite wisdom, says, "So if they're both counted out, then nobody advances." And JR had been talking about that exact thing for basically the last 3 minutes before the King said that, and King just obviously wasn't listening. And then it got bad. Like the end of this was so awkward, and
Oh,
This
yeah.
didn't make a lot of sense because
It was real weird.
Slaughter comes out there, as restart it.
Yeah, and they announced it as a 5-minute sudden death overtime, as if the original match was not already sudden death enough.
Right. and Regal's all about it. Regal's on his feet, like, all right, let's do it. X-Pac is limping to the back the entire time. Like, this is being announced, this is being talked about. X-Pac doesn't even look like he's acknowledging that it's been announced like that.
Nope, doesn't care.
So my question about that situation, especially if McMahon is trying to really stick it to Austin, wouldn't Regal had won that match by countout?
Yeah.
Because they were given 5 additional minutes.
That would make sense.
X-Pac left, Regal standing in the middle of the ring. And, I'm surprised they wouldn't just raise his hand and have him fight Austin.
I mean, is it one of those things where, like, at the beginning of the match, you have to have 2 men in the ring for the bell to ring? Like...
Well, I mean, yeah, you're following the rules there, and you're technically right. I mean, you're absolutely right. They do both have to be in the ring before you can ring the bell. But again, Vince is Vince. You know what I mean? Like with his power stroke at that time, I mean, he could have said Regal wins. He could have done anything he wanted. But no, you're right. Absolutely, you can't start the match until both men are in the ring, standing upright.
Yes. So that match ends, and the controversy continues into the next match, but we have match number 5. We have Ken Shamrock, the Intercontinental Champion, taking on Goldust. And we have, I wrote down, I believe Shamrock's gimmick is intensity.
Now, I will say this, and I mean, you don't have to agree with me just because you're talking to me, and some people won't agree with this. Ken Shamrock is definitely on that list of guys that are underrated.
Oh, yeah?
I mean... You think back and you just think, oh, he was just the UFC guy that came in there. His work was I mean, he did quality work. He never was like a great promo guy, but he cut a very classic crazy man, 80s style, I'm going to beat you up because I'm tougher thing.
Okay.
Which was fine because it fit his character.
Yeah.
And I go back and I watch his matches. Like, he had a title match against, I think it was against The Rock or Shawn Michaels. I think it was against... It was against Shawn Michaels the month after the Montreal Screwjob. That's a good match. I mean, he worked with The Rock at WrestleMania 14, had a good run with the Intercontinental title. Like, he wasn't a great promo guy, and but I mean, he's really a guy as far as his technical skills go. I think he kind of gets forgotten or overlooked a little bit.
So now that you mention it, I went into this thinking that exactly, this is just a UFC guy. I've not really seen much about him. I haven't really seen many of his matches. But he impressed me during this match, just his athletic ability. Like, he has a few, leaping Hurricane Ranas in this match that are just really impressive. I was just like, oh, shit, I didn't know this guy could do that shit.
And his submission style, even from his MMA days, really transitions well. He's really good with the, rolling through and pulling a knee bar. And,
mm-hmm.
I was just impressed with the way he was able to kind of incorporate his MMA skills with, a professional wrestling match. I also really liked that JR called on his UFC background. I thought that was that made a lot of sense. Yeah. He is a guy that has experience in tournaments, in one-night tournaments, and, he's, I think, won one at least, so that was a good call by JR.
Yeah, that makes sense. Also mentioned by JR, Goldust currently taking part in a controversial pregnancy storyline. I had just noticed, just the timing of this was interesting, because I thought, it was 1998, that's also the year that Paris Jackson was born, which is the year after her brother was born. So that whole Michael Jackson man, a little bit of a effeminate man having a controversial pregnancy had been taking place. And so I wondered if that was where this storyline came from.
DP, are you accusing the WWE of pulling from the headlines?
Nothing that Dick Wolf wouldn't do.
Right. No, you're 100% right. That's why they did it. I mean, that's exactly why they did it, when they did it. So,
I just always think it's interesting watching these old shows, trying to figure out what time it is versus what the storylines are going on, to see if there's influence from the outside world.
And this was like a thought that I was kind of mulling over in my head watching this, was that it's not the same level, but the Goldust character is almost Undertaker-like when you think about the longevity and just how ridiculous of a character it is.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? When he was given that character in 95 or whatever it was, and he showed up and he was hitting on Razor Ramon, I mean, I can't imagine anybody thought that was going to stick.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And just the fact that he got that character over with fans, was able to be a babyface, doing the shit that he was doing, you know what I mean, in the mid-'90s when we weren't quite as PC as we are today, and just the fact that he could show up on Raw Monday, and he would get a huge reaction. You know, so just, I think it's a credit to him and just how he managed to maintain that character's, like, you know, as a credible character for such a long time is impressive.
Oh, yeah.
He has had the success of The Undertaker, but just, it's impressive to me that he has, you know, maintained that, you know, been able to keep that character relevant for as long as he has, especially as ridiculous of a character as it is.
Yo, you're right, and it's almost like, I don't know if it's just because he's maybe a little bit older and he just doesn't want to be as involved, but like this last year they had those like 3 or 4 false starts at like building towards a WrestleMania match with his brother, and then it just didn't happen. It's just so strange that like the two characters, for how much longevity they've had and how much, like, in a similar vein, Kane has had, but yet Kane and Undertaker are still very much involved and being, you know, heavily focused on even throughout the year. And, you know, Stardust can't even get a pay-per-view match to finish off his storyline.
Oh, yeah, exactly. I was like, ooh, well, I won't get into that, but anyway.
Yeah.
JR mentions that Michael Cole is backstage trying to find out Austin's condition.
Oh, we should also mention before that match ends when Shamrock makes Goldust tap. So Shamrock continues in the tournament.
It was during the match, though, still. I wasn't trying to jump ahead there. He mentions that, and I just thought it was funny. I was like, when Cole talks about his journalist years as a war correspondent, is he really just talking about the Monday Night Wars? Like, was this during that, his backstage trying to dig in and figure out if Austin's okay? Like, is that his war credential? I don't know.
Does he have, like, a history in, like, just, like, being a regular reporter before that?
Oh, he absolutely does. Yeah, I'm being a shithead. No, he actually does.
I don't know his past or anything.
Yeah. Goldust isn't allowed to do Shattered Dreams.
Yeah, the ref just completely stops that.
You know, and it was a good way to, like, you know, the ref pushed him back. You can't do that. Shamrock got up on top, hit him with the Hurricanrana, and won with the ankle lock. I just liked that. I thought it was a good finish.
Oh yeah, the match, like, you know, the match throughout wasn't, you know, super technical and great. It was a lot of punching and clotheslines, but it was fine, and I thought the ending was good. I enjoyed that.
Absolutely.
So then we do go backstage to Cole with an update on Stone Cold, and then it's not really that much of an update.
No, Michael Cole, yeah, in his journalistic wisdom, and this is the kind of reporting you'd get today from people, he knows Steve Austin. And knowing Steve Austin like he does, he thinks he'll fight.
Yes, my close personal friend, Michael Cole.
That's not an update. That'd be like a reporter coming on TV being like, I know the victim pretty well, and I think they're going to pull through in this shooting. They're going to be just fine.
It's like half the NBA reporters on ESPN. Oh, my good buddy.
My God. Oh, God, I know. Like, leave it out, okay? We don't care that you know all these people. That leads us to our next match in the first round of this tournament, and it's The Rock versus Triple H.
Oh, man, dude, I was excited. I was like, we're going to get a main event quality match here.
I had forgotten about the shenanigans involved here because I, too, was like, oh, man, I can't wait to see that. Like,
yeah.
Because they had just fought at SummerSlam in that ladder match previously this year for the Intercontinental title, and, you know, they did a lot of good work together, especially when DX and the Nation were feuding. So I was like, oh, I can't wait for this. And then, it didn't happen.
No, DX music hits, and out comes Briscoe and Patterson, who announced that Mr. McMahon will allow me to find Triple H when he returns to the WWF. And Patterson brings out the replacement, Big Boss Man.
The big fucking boss man. Good God. And this is only appearance number 2 at this point.
Yes.
I think the Briscoes could have come out to the DX music more often. I liked them coming out to that. I noticed a sign in this during this match that said ICP can suck it. I thought that, that's a good sign of the times there when, you have both DX and Insane Clown Posse references taking place at the same time.
Yes. So this match, there's not much of a match.
Yeah. No, there's not. And another thing, I mentioned it before, McMahon is really not good at henchmen at this point. Like, he has surrounded himself with Briscoe, Patterson, and Slaughter, and the Big Boss Man. Like, he doesn't exactly have a great stable yet. And then his surprise fighter was Dwayne Gill. So yeah, he's not doesn't have the greatest pull for talent yet as far as his team goes.
Yeah. So this one, The Rock just rolls up Big Boss Man, pins him, advances in the tournament.
Yep. And according to Jim Ross, that was a record
Yes.
As far as the time for the match, he won in 4 seconds.
Record
which I call
time.
bullshit, but that's just me.
What do you think the record would be?
Well, I just don't think that match was 4 seconds. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Like, okay, a 3-second pin. I don't know that the bell rang and he rolled up the boss man in 1 second.
Like, it was quick, but yeah, probably not 4 seconds. That's probably right. Yeah, I could see that. After this, we get JR with his love of alliterations.
Being informed. Well, folks, I'd like to say we're down to the Great 8, but it's not the Great 8, it's the Sensational 7 because Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Yeah, it's like, well, are you telling us that? Like, we should be disappointed? Like, yeah, I don't know. That was odd.
JR wanted to see another Stone Cold match.
Well, you know he'd like to see that.
Of course.
Get Dwayne Gill back out there.
All right, so the next match, we start the quarterfinals, match number 7. We have The Undertaker taking on the other brother of destruction, Kane. This is a good match, man. This gets the crowd hyped. And I really, I feel like this, you have stated this is your favorite Undertaker version. I had never heard this Undertaker version music, and I loved this Undertaker version.
Yeah, I mean, I guess
music.
because this is still we're a little pre-Ministry Undertaker, but I'm pretty sure it's the music that he carried throughout the Ministry tenure. Yeah, I don't know. I just dig it. This is kind of, I guess, when he's like the Lord of Darkness is what I mean. I think maybe people in his character development, that's what maybe the stage he was in at this point, and I just dig it. I think it's his coolest music. Gives it a little bit of energy, you know? I understand the ambiance and the still air and the silence is kind of part of the appeal, but I don't know, there's just something kind of cool about, a little bit of a heavy guitar accompanying the dead man to the ring.
Yeah, just the inside of that music, yeah.
Right. And not Limp Bizkit or Kid Rock, just let the dude that makes everybody's music, fucking Jim Johnston, whatever his name is, just let that guy do it, all right? He's been doing it for a while. He's pretty good at it.
That sounds like a good plan. So we have that. We have I wrote down on here, I was like, I miss the non-video screen stages. I love that giant skull that they come out next to in this whole, pay-per-view. I think it's just awesome looking, and it's just, I miss that, extra shit.
Right.
Now it's just, it's impressive and bright and shiny, but it's just the same every time.
Right, yeah. WCW was always impressive. They were big stages, big entrances, making them walk around some fucking pumpkin or something. They did it a lot more. And WWE used to, at least make an effort every now and then to kind of decorate the entrance and change things up. But I don't know. At some point, I can't remember exactly when, but they just pretty much went with the exact same look they have on Raw with their pay-per-views.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, for TLC, they'll hang a bunch of chairs up or something, but
yeah, maybe. I don't know if they might still do that.
Doing that? I don't know. I forgot last year if that happened or not.
At this point in time, we're still under the impression that Kane has spent time in an institution and that he is dangerous.
Okay, so he's just like a mental patient now at this point.
Right, and no one seems to think that it's a bad idea to have him around.
That seems, let's just let him come back out here. I don't know, I like the way that in the videos and stuff they show and the way that Paul Bear hides behind Kane during his promos with The Undertaker.
Right.
I thought that was entertaining.
Oh yeah, no, Paul Bear, I mean, he gets a lot of credit, but I mean, can't go without mentioning that he was a huge part of both of their success,
Oh yeah.
And even after they initially finally had their match, he still, managed to usually be with one or the other for a few more years anyway.
Oh, yeah?
I mean, at this point, I don't know. They fought at WrestleMania that year. They fought in that, the match that Steve Austin was the referee in.
Okay.
So, yeah, I mean, this was kind of the infancy of them working together. It had, like you said, it hasn't quite gone stale yet. And I was going to say, and the crowd, like you were saying, this was definitely the first big match of the night. And the crowd really reacted. You could tell at this point, Kane and Undertaker was still a marquee matchup, and these people were really excited to see this.
Oh yeah, dude, they go nuts, and it actually, I have later on in the show, it seems like it kind of depresses the crowd for the next match because they're just going all out this match.
Well, like you said, this was I think match 7.
Yes,
and and out of 14, I believe. So you've put Kane and the Undertaker in the mid card, like the absolute exact middle of the card, and that's tough.
Yes.
Fucking like that's tough for anybody to fall after that, and especially the crowd starts to get a little bit sick of how these matches start going later in the show.
That's true. Yeah. So I enjoyed that the ref is terrified of refereeing this match. Like anytime the Undertaker even shoots him a look, like he's backing way up, he just stays way back away from it. I love that kind of shit.
Yeah. I liked when King and JR were discussing how evil the Undertaker is as he applied a knee lock. It's like they're having this like in-depth discussion about he's so sinister and he's so evil, and then he like applied a simple knee lock on Kane and just kind of sat there.
Nice, yeah. This, I don't know. There were good points to this match. The crowd really helped make this match great, but like the end is a little bit of a weak ending. Kane delivers like the world's lightest choke slam, but Paul Bearer gets his attention long enough for Taker to get up and hits the tombstone, and then Undertaker wins.
Right. And don't forget about Paul Bearer holding his foot down.
Yes, correct.
Without his contribution, that victory could not have been attained.
Well, they made sure to make Undertaker still look very strong, even though like he kind of had a weakness at the very end. But
right, and JR is just disgusted. Can't believe that Paul Bearer would turn on his own son.
So
it is kind of shitty, though, really.
Oh yeah.
What?
I don't know. Are you still looking for your notes, or?
No, you died on me. I'm sorry. I didn't know.
No, that's the end of the match, and then it just like there's nothing that happens in between the matches.
Right, okay, all right. So I guess we'll go on to the next thing. WWE title tournament, second round, Mankind versus Al Snow.
Yes. This was a good one. I mean, I enjoyed it, but like I said, it felt like the crowd was really depressed. Like this reaction to Al Snow is not the same as the reaction from the beginning, it doesn't feel like.
No, and the crowd's also kind of confused with Mankind. Like, I feel like there's a big, I feel like they want to cheer for him. He does pretty much everything that, you would like in a guy, but at the same time, he's, perceived to be Vince's guy. So there's a little bit of that also, like, they're a little bit down because they just saw a good match with Undertaker and Kane. That was pretty exciting. You're following that up with Al Snow and Mankind. Crowd's a little confused about who to cheer for, and I think it just kind of leads to a little bit of a dull silence.
Yeah, and also it doesn't help that the intersection into this match, like it feels like they must be running late. Mankind's entrance starts before Kane even gets out of the arena. Like, he's still walking away, and Mankind's music hits, and he just walks out to the ring.
Right, yeah. Kane hadn't even completely finished leaving, like he was still trying to intimidate fans, and Mankind's halfway to the ring. I thought that was kind of strange. I thought Mick's bow tie kind of looked like an Andes candy. Like, that's just what it reminded me of with the colors. I don't know what the hell it was, but it just kind of looked like an Andes candy. A wonderful chocolate mint combination.
Oh, yeah, that'd be the way to go with your tie.
And a tuxedo has to be the most uncomfortable thing in the world to wrestle in.
Oh my god, it's so like just you're designed to sit and stand in a tuxedo, and that's all you get to do.
Right? Yeah, that's as soon as you can. That's why you take those things off, in like a wedding situation or whatever, because there isn't much range for movement, and I'd imagine wrestling would be very, very difficult.
No, and you also have Mick Foley, who, as was proven later in life, if given the option, he will just continue to wear sweatpants. So, like,
that's his preferred,
in a tuxedo.
Yeah, that's the preferred, wardrobe there.
Yeah, so this match, Al Snow hits Mankind with a chair twice, but the ref just kind of lets it go. I guess you have to swing the chair in order to be DQ'd.
Right? Yeah, I had the same thing here. I'm like, Al Snow uses a chair. Ref doesn't care. Like,
doesn't give a shit.
It was just kind of, again, the officiating. It goes however the match goes. All right.
Pretty much, and it's weird though because like as he's doing it, he hits him once, and the ref's like, "Hey, don't be doing that." He hits him again. The ref's like, "Hey, I just said stop doing that," and then he goes to like swing it, and then it's just like it's all okay because he doesn't hit him, so we can continue the match. Because he's like, "No."
I love it when they go backstage and and Vince is watching and and wondering what's going on. I love when Gerald Briscoe is laughing. He's like, "It's so funny, Vince, that you put Sacco around head." Like he leans in and makes sure that Vince knows how funny he thinks it is that he did that to him.
Oh yes, in fact, I enjoyed that so much that I recorded it.
Oh, Mr. McMahon, I gotta tell you, when you stole Mr. Sacco away from poor old Mankind, put her around the head.
Right there.
Mr. McMahon, that was one of the most brilliant things.
Wait till Mick sees it. Wait till Mick sees it. Wait till he's going to go ballistic.
I tell you, Mr.
Wait till you
McMahon.
see.
Mr. McMahon, when you put Sacco around head.
The only problem is I felt like McMahon just like jumped all over the end of the line that like actually makes it so great where he's just like, that's the most brilliant thing you've done.
Right.
Like,
Well,
Vince wants to make sure
Vince wants to make sure he remembers that he's the star. He's the star of the show.
At this point, JR is now catching on that he truly believes Mankind is the chosen one. He makes sure to point that out now that is the case. Snow misses a headshot and the head falls directly in front of Mankind, who is reunited with Sacco, and that is the big turning point of this match.
Right, yeah. He starts beating up Head. He doesn't immediately go after Al Snow for these actions either. He starts beating up Head.
I forgot
he's none
about
too
that.
happy.
Just punches the shit out of it. But the crowd, this is another part where the crowd's very confused because they are super excited that Mankind and Sacco are back together.
Right, exactly. That's what I mean. It's like, he's aligned with Vince, but he's also being reunited with Sacco. Like, the crowd is just completely torn. They don't know what the hell's going on.
So Mankind locks on the mandible claw and just defeats Al Snow. Like, that's it.
Well, and he pulled another double arm DDT, like you had said.
Well, yes, that's true.
And I will mention for Al Snow shortly when Mick was distracted by Head, Al did his sit out spine buster, which I always enjoyed. It's a good move. Signature Al Snow.
So then after this we get JR, and he's just exactly how I love to have JR.
More nuts, I guess. Well, I'll tell you what, Maestro McMahon's finest symphony may well be in place for Mankind to wear the title before this night is over.
I just love with that music, and JR comes in. Maestro McMahon and his finest symphony.
Well, yeah, and you have Mick with his, symphony classical music there. Playing him out.
I do like that because I remember reading about that in his book about his decision to have two themes, and that's awesome stuff. I like that ending.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and certainly something that I'm not sure has been duplicated. You know what I mean? Like kind of a nice little original thing for Mick there. Dwayne, I noticed too that Dwayne Gill. They show the updated brackets at this point, and they never put Dwayne Gill's name on there. It's still just question marks.
They didn't just take the chance to.
Like, come on, that's not fair.
That's just rude.
The man deserves to see his name in print.
Yeah, so we get the updated brackets, and then we go on to match number 9 with Ken Shamrock taking on The Rock.
And this was, I don't think it was a surprise, but this was a pretty entertaining match.
Yeah, this is the match where I really realized Ken Shamrock. I was like, oh shit, like yeah, he's fucking the real deal.
And I absolutely love his music. He has some of the greatest entrance music in the history of wrestling, in my opinion, anyway. I don't know.
Why is that? It's iconic, or
I don't know. There's just something I like about Ken Shamrock's music. I just think it's good entrance music.
Okay, I mean, I guess I said the same thing about Muda's music. I couldn't really tell you why I loved Great Muda's music, but I really enjoyed it, so I can see that.
Yeah. It just fits his personality for some reason, I don't know. Just you see him as he walks out, and the music just fits. And then I thought it was interesting too that The Rock at this point, the crowd. I mean, it was almost a Stone Cold like reaction for The Rock.
Oh yeah,
they were. I mean, the crowd was hot.
Yeah, they were all over the place. They really enjoyed The Rock. They were excited. They wanted to smell what The Rock was cooking. We even had a fan dressed as a chef with a chef's hat and an apron on the front that said, "Smell what the Rock's cooking," and they get a great like close-up zoom in on him as he's like just going nuts at the camera. Rock's number one, baby. We're gonna go. Rock's number one. The people's champ. The people's champ. It's just fucking awesome.
Yeah, he was a fan. He was definitely a fan.
JR mentions that Ken Shamrock and The Rock are two men that this company can use as a foundation for its future. Which, I mean, I guess that's true, but I mean...
And he was...
How much longer was Shamrock around?
I mean, he was half right. I mean, Shamrock, probably like 3 years or so.
Okay.
And, like, he came in like 97, but he didn't really do much. Like, he was the enforcer in the match between Bret Hart and Stone Cold at WrestleMania 13.
Oh, okay.
And I mean, he was involved in wrestling by the end of that year. But, yeah, I don't know. He kind of faded away around 2000 or so. I mean, he was definitely gone, you know, by the time WCW closed and all that stuff. Like, he was long gone before the invasion. So, I can't remember exactly. But it was probably 3 good years.
All right. I mean, like I said, I hadn't really seen much of Ken Shamrock. I've seen, like, stuff from his UFC career, but I've never seen, like, you know, this kind of stuff. But he is an athletic dude. I didn't realize how good he was. This ref will not count them out for some reason. These refs have had so much discretion in the rules of these matches. He's just like, I'm going to let him go. This is competitive. Let's just let him go outside.
This is what the people want, damn it.
Also during this match is when I noticed did you see the family of 3 in front row dressed as Gold Dust, Mankind, and Kane?
Oh, yeah.
The 2 kids, and it's mom or dad, I can't tell.
Well, yeah, it was hard to tell genders. They were all kind of, you know, they all looked a little bit like cross-dressers at the same time as, you know, like WWE wrestlers. So, well, no, I appreciated the commitment, though.
No, yeah, they looked like they were having a blast, and as the show continued, at first I thought Mankind was a boy, Goldust was a girl, and Kane was a mom. The more I watched, I started to think that all 3 of them were girls. Because, like, Mankind, like, and that's why they chose 3 characters that have long hair, obviously. But, I don't know. I just love seeing a family dress up that intensely and hardcore for a wrestling show. Like, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, no, they were definitely into it. They got their, they were very happy to be there. And they were pretty much, they tried to get in, like, everybody's face. You know, like, they tried to get everybody's attention pretty much throughout the night also, you know, like, I'm not sure anybody gave him much of a glance, but yeah, they were trying to get someone to look at him, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like, as the wrestlers were coming out.
Yeah. So midway through this match, everybody's favorite, Big Boss Man, makes his way to ringside.
Oh, Jesus Christ. And they even the crowd chants, "Boss Man sucks." Like, this crowd, they mean it. They are sick of seeing this guy. One other thing, JR in this match, I should have went back and counted. Cinching it in was what he said. I feel like he said that at least 5 or 6 times. Like, he just kept using the term cinching it in throughout the course of this match.
That was his metronome. That he always knew he could come back to that if he ever felt left. Maybe was JR laying out a whole bunch or something?
No, I mean there was a lot of cinching it in, I guess. So he said it.
Yeah. So during the match, we get the titular line from Mr. JR.
Virtually no hope in surviving this deadly game in this ankle lock.
This deadly game.
The Rock has virtually no hope. Surviving.
Virtually no hope.
Exactly.
He may pull it out, though. I loved when Shamrock, he pulled off another Hurricanrana in this match and then rolled all the way through into an ankle lock. Like, I thought that was a pretty cool continuous maneuver on his part.
Oh, yeah, and it was a standing Hurricanrana, not even from, like, the top rope.
Right, yeah.
At one point.
He was the WWE's version of Rey Mysterio. I mean, let's face it. He was the closest thing they had.
The heavyweight Rey Mysterio.
Yeah.
During this match, Rock motions to Boss Man, who distracts the ref. Well, I don't know. He throws his hand at Boss Man, Boss Man distracts the ref. I'm guessing Boss Man is angry and getting up on the ring to yell at Rock for whatever motion that was that he threw his hand towards him.
I don't know.
Rock hits Shamrock with the big stomp to the nuts.
Right. Yeah, a shameless stomp to the nuts.
Just very obvious.
Or lower nutsack region, perhaps. It also amazes me at this time, with all these fucking people backstage, that the Big Boss Man is still the only person they sent out there to do any of this shit. And the crowd was losing their minds. They loved the People's Elbow. You know, they were, I think, looking forward to a clean finish. Maybe finally no fucking shenanigans. And Boss Man really did nothing but throw his nightstick into the ring. Was all he actually did. It was pretty much it.
Yeah, he mouthed off a little bit, but other than that, yeah, he just threw his nightstick in the ring. So the nightstick gets thrown into the ring. The Rock intercepts the nightstick and hits. Oh wait, hold on. Where is it? He intercepts it, and then the ref stops. The ref is done being distracted. Rock pins Shamrock after he gets hit with the stick.
And see, that right there. It's why it was too confusing of a finish, and it kind of it was a very lame finish to a good match. Is what I felt. You know, is how I felt about it.
Yeah, it did. It kind of took the air out of the ending there.
Right. So now we go. Paul Bearer is backstage. Says the only rock the Undertaker ever liked is granite. That was what Paul Bearer says about the Rock.
And it was during this little promo that I don't know how it took me so long to realize it, but the two top guys in the Attitude Era are both named out of the same object. You have Stone Cold and The Rock.
That's true. That's true.
It's
what can you
crazy.
say? People were into the elements at the time, you know?
Yes.
They're out there enjoying the rocks, climbing those mountains, favoring those stars.
We have that promo, and then we go to the next match, which I took a bathroom break real quick, but then I came back and watched the whole thing. But yeah, what do we got going on?
I don't feel like that was useful information. So now we have the WWE Women's Title match. Sable, who at this time, you know, this was actually a fairly decent story that she had going on. To this, you know, getting the title from Jacqueline, still dealing with marvelous Mark Marrow, who.
Of course, he always has to be continually bothering.
Right, yes. He somehow managed to stay semi-relevant as long as he was feuding with Sable. King has elevated from his seat, according to JR, as Sable was coming out. He was classic King there.
Expecting a lot more like King lines during this match. King kind of just laid off all that shit during this whole thing. Like he talks a little bit shortly, but not a whole lot.
Right. Well, I mean, they were wrestling. It wasn't like a bikini contest or something like that. I mean, he still got some of his lines in there. Or if they were just standing at ringside being a manager, you probably would have got a lot more comments about them looking good or whatever. I don't know. Maybe he was actually halfway trying to respect the action in the ring. Maybe, but I doubt it. We had Shane McMahon was the referee in this match, and that was
why was that?
Well, that was him. He was being punished for. He signed Steve Austin to a 5-year contract or something.
Okay.
Without Vince knowing, and so Vince got mad and told him he was going to go back to the bottom and, you know, like work his way back to the top of the company or something like that. So
the bottom is whoever has to ref the women's match.
Well, it wasn't intended to necessarily be that he was reffing the women's match, but it just happened that the first time he appeared on the show as a referee, it was the women's title match.
Okay. Yeah, because I was wondering how that all worked out, and if it was just simply at the time I was like, is Shane McMahon just like, did he ask his dad to put him into a program with Sable? Like, is that what's going on here? I couldn't figure out how Shane was connected to this storyline. Just watching it.
That's why it was kind of strange not having been watching Raws the weeks before this or anything like that, because it seemed like, why is Shane McMahon the special guest referee? He's not involved in this at all. Like, why wouldn't Mark Marrow or something be it? So, yeah, it was a little strange, but that's the explanation for that.
So Sable hits the TKO very early in this match. She just doesn't pin Jackie just because Mark Marrow. But
Right. And and what's amazing is that Mark Merrow at this point, he was the first guy that got a guaranteed contract in the WWF. When he came over from WCW, he was the first guy. Like, I think they saw him with, dollar signs in their eyes. Like, they thought Marvelous Mark Merrow, actually Wildman Mark Merrow, was going to save their company or something. And it's just crazy that he went from being a pushed guy managed by Sable to managing a girl putting Sable over. You know what I mean? Like, the fall from grace was not pleasant.
No, that's pretty dramatic. That is... I hadn't really put that into perspective. I knew that he, lost the whole feud, but I didn't realize that just was the end of his relevance at the same time.
Oh, absolutely.
So yeah, why is Sable given Brock Lesnar's moveset? She feels like a creator wrestler that you just threw the Brock Lesnar moveset onto a girl just because fuck it, why not? Let's give her power bombs.
Oh well. I mean, it was supposed to be her finisher. It's the Sable Bomb, all right?
I understand that, but it just looks ridiculous with her doing it. I mean, it's good, it's fine. I enjoyed the match, and I thought it was awesome when she was hitting power bombs. It's just weird to see a female doing power bombs. Like, are there any current women in WWE right now that are doing power bombs?
I don't believe so. Not at the present time. I also loved during this match when King did not appreciate JR talking about watching and learning from him as a kid. JR at some point in this match talks about, yeah, I used to watch and learned a lot from you, King, when I was a kid. And King's just silent. And he's probably like, shut the hell up, JR.
That's awesome. I mean, speaking of that, did you see the stuff online about how the King made mention of Zeb's birthday, about how old Zeb is? And they came to find out that they were both born on the exact same date. If you look up their Wikipedias, their birthdays are the exact same day of the exact same year. And it was just funny because Kane was making fun of him during his promo,
talking about how old he was.
Exactly, and then they're just the exact same age. I thought it was funny that he's so crazy about his age with that stuff.
Yeah, I loved it. What's that?
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, I loved at one point when Jackie attached Sable's hair to her own. She pulled Sable's extensions out and just, Velcroed or whatever she did, just attached them to her head. I thought that was a pretty amazing heel move. Yeah.
I didn't realize that extensions just worked like, Lego hair. You can just take it and stick it on your own hair and just keep going.
Right. I also know very little about the world of extensions, but I think that's the case with some pieces. I don't know. I'm not exactly sure.
Okay. I was really surprised during the segment of the match when we got multiple chest kicks to Sable that there was nothing from King. He was silent during that part.
Right, yeah, like you were saying, I don't know. King was kind of, I don't know, he didn't have a lot to say during this match. I'm not sure what was going on, if he was told to be like that, or if maybe he was just taking a little break. I'm not sure.
So we get the second Sable Bomb, and Sable pins her 1, 2, 3, and is the new champion. The new women's champ.
Women's champion. A champion they could be proud of. Now we go to the semifinal in the WWE title tournament, as it's Mankind himself taking on Stone Cold Steve Austin.
I was really looking forward to this matchup. I was like, holy cow, this is awesome. But the announcers are almost determined that this match is not going to happen.
Yeah, they are telling you, as with as much fucking gusto as possible, that there's no way in hell it's happening.
Nope, no chance Stone Cold, well, except for JR, because, he loves him.
Oh, well, yeah, of course JR always has faith. Mick is actually wrestling in his third match of the night, but the Dwayne Gill match wasn't much, but I thought it was interesting that he beat 2 future Job Squad members on his way to the semifinals. So definitely a step up in competition here.
Oh, hey, that's right. They were connected that way. This is definitely a major step up. Austin, as he makes his way to the ring, is selling the arm injury, because that will be a thing.
Yeah. Oh yeah. He took that beating with a nightstick, and he's gonna fucking stick to it.
So as this match starts, Mankind's tuxedo he has lost the jacket at this point, And right as the match starts, Austin immediately removes his shoes and he removes the shoes and the jacket. So we get down to just the pants and the white shirt.
Yeah, we're getting a lot closer to the Mankind ring attire that most people are used to seeing, or what they remember him wearing.
That's what I thought was really cool about the way that Mick Foley did that, and that he starts in a tuxedo, and then just like at the end, he's in his new gear. Like it's just like, I have my wrestling pants on, I got wrestling shoes on, and I have this white shirt that I wear now. It's just like, it just works its way through that the whole night.
Yeah, yep. And he's, I think he's more comfortable that way. I'm sure he was definitely probably thinking, there's no way in hell I'm going to go out there and I'm going to wrestle Steve Austin in a fucking tuxedo. He's going to probably step the game up a little bit. He gives Austin a running knee early in this match that's just brutal. The one where Austin sits in the corner and it's just a knee straight to Steve's face.
Yeah.
And it looks like he annihilates him with it.
That was rough. It's McMahon and his nursing staff are near ringside. And at one point, we get a reference from JR that's just a little bit dated.
And McMahon wanting a ringside seat in his Ironside-like wheelchair. He's beginning to look like old Raymond Burr. Ironside? I watch TV Land. The man's got a hurt ankle.
We had an Ironside reference from JR in 1998.
He's like, come on, everybody loves that. You have TV Land, watch it, damn it. Yeah, the Stooges convincing Mankind to not give up. I loved that stuff.
I did like that, yeah.
Encouraging him.
Just walking him back down like a child. Just, no, you're all right, man. You can do this. But Austin does not have the patience. He, gets out and chases Mankind and starts beating up on him outside of the ring. And once they get back into the ring, we get the other line from King that I had to make sure to play on here. Because I love this.
And look at Mr. McMahon over there. I mean, he's sitting right out near that unwashed public. Now, how gracious is that of Mr. McMahon to let those people be that close to him? I mean, that's like meeting God without having to die. McMahon is telling everybody to count on.
That's like sitting next to God.
Yeah, hey. King knows how to butter up the boss. Those are kind words. I also liked at some point when King said that he thinks Mick owes Vince an awful lot just for buying him that suit. Regardless of any of his help in the matches throughout the night, he thinks just for buying him that suit, he owes him quite a bit of money.
Got to make sure to pay the man back. That was a very kind gesture, and you ruined it throughout this night of wrestling. But I do think it's kind of weird the way that they interchange Mankind and Mick Foley at this point. It's just like, did they ever just say Mankind? When did they start putting Mick Foley into it? Like, how did that start?
They always called, it was just Mankind when he first came in, and they were really kind of selling him as this, psychopath that was living in the boiler room and that whole thing. But then after JR did, his sit-down interview with him that was, 2 or 3 parts, and they talked about his backyard wrestling and showed home videos and all that kind of stuff. After that point, they, the name Mick started getting used, a little more on a regular basis, I guess.
Okay, so were Stone Cold's fingers always censored, or is that just for this network special? Was it that way on the DVD or the VHS? I can't imagine that they were censored before, but I don't know. This is it may have just been on this specific show like that, but I was kind of surprised to see them censoring the middle finger, so I don't know if that's a network thing or what. Yeah, I was kind of confused about that. I did think, though, this match was the first pay-per-view quality match of the night. I enjoyed some of the earlier matches. They were good, but this match really felt special and different than, your average Raw match.
Yeah, no, well, because of the number of matches, the quality of some of those, was taken down quite a bit.
Yeah.
I think that's probably what made it feel that way, because this was kind of the point in the show where the matches all started to have a pay-per-view feel.
Yeah, it really gets going at this point. We get a DDT on the chair to Austin. So if you fall onto the chair, is it not DQ worthy? Is that, again, another thing where it's you can use the chair as long as you're not physically moving the chair?
Yeah, that must be the case, because JR also gets upset during this match when the ref just doesn't count. They're out of the ring, and he's just apparently there's not a count out. beside himself
It
about
is really weird the way that the refs just tonight have just been given just free reign to just allow whatever they feel is necessary to allow. And then Stone Cold hits a stunner on the chair. I don't understand how that affects the move, except for hurting his ass. He goes for a pin.
No, I imagine that was probably a mistake on his part. I don't know if that was intended to sit on the chair like that.
That's possible.
That definitely did nothing for the move other than hurt his ass.
So he hits the stunner, and then McMahon leaps from his Ironside-like chair and pulls the ref out of the ring.
It was a miracle. He could walk. It was a miracle. I was impressed.
Oh, and then, of course, the ref being down, we get another stunner, and the ref is still down, so out comes Shane McMahon.
Oh, yes. And I got to say, too, Mick was probably the only guy I've ever seen get a stunner with his pants around his ankles.
I had forgotten that his pants at this point were down now. Yeah.
Yeah, his pants were around his ankles, and he got a stunner. That was pretty demoralizing, probably. Yeah, Shane McMahon comes out to the ring. He slides in. The crowd's going nuts. He counts 1, 2, and then he flips off Stone Cold Steve Austin.
And JR is incensed. How was this betrayal?
JR is so mad. He's so upset. Can't believe they would do this to his Rattlesnake. He's beside himself with rage.
The Briscoe and Patterson get in the ring and hit Austin with a chair. Mankind then covers Austin. And, of course, Shane counts 3 times this time.
Right. And that chair shot for the finish in this match was pretty weak I felt like. I was not impressed with the chair shot finish. That was pretty bad.
Yeah, and
I had here another quality match that I felt like was ruined by a bad finish. Just more shit going on than needs to be going on.
Yeah.
In about 80% of these matches.
Yeah, it's like I understand taking these shortcuts to end matches so that the tournament can be all done in one night. But it's like now we're at the point now where it's like, can we just have a match end? But I guess, you can't have Mankind actually beat Stone Cold yet.
No, I guess you're right. And that's fine. Yeah, this is the match that maybe you need that finish. But all that other shit with the boss man coming out and all that you could have done without. And I don't think anybody would have minded.
Yeah, that would have been fine. So I just want to play a little bit of angry JR because I love JR emoting. I don't know. We talk about a lot of announcers on this show, but I really enjoy JR.
Did you see that, JR? Look at McMahon. He's not hurt anymore. He was healed all right. Oh, there they go, skipping gaily away. The whole group of them. The McMahon family has nothing to be proud of here. Steve Austin just got screwed. Austin had this match won twice. He just got screwed at the Survivor Series. Have you heard that before? Where are the McMahons going? Well, if they know what's good for them, they'll get on that Learjet of Vince's and get the hell out of St. Louis. Hell, I don't believe what this is amazing. This is absolutely amazing. Shane McMahon signs Austin to a 5-year contract in the WWF, has a chance to count Mankind's shoulders down 1, 2, 3, and refuses to do it. Right. Instead, he gives him, you know what? I saw it. So what? Austin's been duped. Is that what we're saying here? That Shane McMahon and his daddy sucked in Austin, and everybody else, including me, you, everybody here, everybody got screwed by the McMahon family. Is that what we're saying? And the other bottom line here is that Mankind is in the finals of this tournament, and Mankind's a victory away from being a corporate champion.
He's so mad.
Oh my goodness.
He's so mad. I love too when the McMahons and the corporation, whatever you want to call them, were fleeing the building, and Austin's on the hunt, and he almost catches up with him. He then steals a truck. He just pulls a guy out of the truck and steals it, and then takes off.
Grand Theft Auto 3 style.
And they probably should have shown this on camera, but he catches up to their car. They're going up that ramp, and I don't think they really realized how fast he was going to drive. Because before they cut away, I mean, he could have just ran into them, but obviously he didn't, and they cut away from that.
So they leave the arena, and it's now time for match 12 because this is a no bullshit show. We've got to keep going.
Go, go, go.
And we get The Rock versus The Undertaker. another very exciting matchup of two guys, in a pay-per-view quality match. All night we had 0 lockups because, someone attacks the other when the entrant number 2 gets into the ring. But yeah, so that happens here also. They just immediately start fighting as this match starts.
I like when King says, somebody better call the cops because Austin is going to be speeding. That was what he was concerned about. Not the fact that he will probably try to physically harm the McMahons if he catches them. No, the King was concerned about Austin speeding out there.
That would be very dangerous.
It would.
They're talking about how the McMahons have left, obviously, I feel like there should be a point where, like, isn't Mankind upset that they all just, like, took off and didn't help him? But, anyways, it doesn't take long because we get Big Boss Man making his way to the ring again.
For the fourth time. And before this yet, King says the ref trying to get these guys in the ring is like giving a fish a raft. It doesn't make sense. I thought that was an interesting saying. Trying to give a fish a raft. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I don't think I've heard that one before. He also, earlier in the show, he used the phrase, something's rotten in Denmark. Is that a thing?
I'm sure it's from something, but yeah, I don't know why the smell in Denmark would have much of an effect on what you were doing in St. Louis, Missouri.
As they were outside of the ring, The Rock repeats water bottle spots. From the earlier match, he had a water bottle spot with the crowd, and this time he decided to just, let's do it again.
Yeah, why not?
Rock
wanted to make sure the ref wasn't looking before he hit the Taker in the nuts.
That's true.
I thought that was pointless. Who cares tonight,
Yeah,
hit the guy in the nuts. The ref's not going to disqualify you.
Yeah, no, the most he'll say is, hey, don't do that. The Rock calls Boss Man, you big fat piece of shit. You can see his mouth just mouthing it the whole time. I like that.
He probably meant it.
Probably. This match ends pretty quickly, though, because here comes the brother of destruction, Kane. And Kane choke slams The Rock.
Hellfire and brimstone.
Getting Taker eliminated because of disqualification, and The Rock wins.
As Kane and The Undertaker fight their way through the crowd.
Yes. I enjoyed, as much as I'm tired of the bullshit endings in this pay-per-view, I did enjoy this because at least it was a storyline that I was like, oh, I'm interested in that going and continuing. Okay, that's fine. Like, they can go their separate way.
It's because they made sense in these past two matches. You know what I mean?
That's
true. The problem is that even by now, it just feels like it's been just happening so often,
That's true, yeah. It's just a full night of these kind of endings. JR loves Nestle. He's so happy that WWF can partner with this great company of Nestle Crunch.
Hey, who doesn't love a Crunch bar? All right, I have to agree with the man there.
They're pretty good. That's a candy bar that I feel like has disappeared. I don't think we even sell them in our store. I don't know. I'll have to look for it next time I go in there.
Oh, I'm sure you do. But yeah, they're not super popular. You don't hear a lot of kids like running around like, oh my God, I can't wait till I get a Crunch bar. It's not exactly I don't think it's the candy of choice by this current generation.
It's like our generation's Mr. Good bar, but now for the
right.
It's like it exists, but nobody eats it. We get a backstage interview between Cole and Man.
Yeah, it got peanuts in it.
Well, yeah, exactly, peanuts, exactly. Well, kids nowadays, that'd kill them. We get a backstage interview between Cole and Mankind. And we get a wonderful shot of Michael Cole staring directly into the camera at the end of this.
It's because Mick says he had one more rock to climb if you smell what the sock is cooking.
I didn't write it down. I couldn't remember what exactly he said. I just remembered the reaction. That's a pretty good
Cole
line.
Was disappointed. Oh, it's a great line. I don't know what Michael Cole's problem was.
Michael Cole's he's a no-nonsense kind of guy.
That's right. And we got a no-nonsense tag team title match.
Exactly.
Triple threat with the champions, the New Age Outlaws, taking on the Headbangers, Mosh and Thrasher, and the team of D'Lo Brown and Mark Henry.
This is quite an interesting three-way tag match that I saw. I did not realize was even coming, and now we're going to do it. It's like they didn't even talk about this at the beginning.
No, they didn't mention it at all. It did kind of feel like it came out of nowhere. Did you see the sign in the crowd that someone made the entire Road Dogg speech.
Yeah, that was
like
impressive.
His pre-match thing.
I did see that.
That was a lot of signs.
It was very long, and very many people did not get to watch him do the intro because of it.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
The Headbangers are sporting that necklace that Tony was talking about last week in the show. They have their ball-bearing necklace on.
Yeah, the balls, man.
I thought that was interesting.
Steel balls.
And then we get Mark Henry facts, a prequel to Matt Facts, but from JR.
Mark Henry's two biggest claims to fame, the 1996 Olympics and his sexual harassment lawsuit filed against China.
That's all. It just kind of comes out of nowhere. He's like, yeah, this guy's, you might remember him from these various things.
Yeah, you may remember me from my sexual harassment lawsuit against China. Like, I just love that in the same breath. It's like his Olympic accomplishments and his lawsuit against China. Did you like?
That's the Attitude Era, but
right. Did you like Billy Gunn's assless trunks? I thought those were
those. I couldn't tell if those
much.
were assless or if it was like a skin-colored thing on top of his shorts. But I guess it was just an actual hole.
I guess that's possible. I thought Mosh had a really good, cool springboard clothesline to the outside. That was something I just don't see too often.
What my question to you is who are the Headbangers? I've not really seen much or heard much about these guys.
They were around for a little while. They came up, I think, through like Smoky Mountain or something, like Deep South.
Okay.
They came
up as that tag?
Yeah, they came in as a tag team. I think they were like the Spiders or something like that previously. And they were like they had matches on Shotgun Saturday Night and stuff like that. They did win the tag team titles at one time. I think it was in like a fatal 4-way match or something, but they're actually former tag team champions.
Okay. See, I didn't know much about them. I just saw them. I was like, I've heard of these guys, but I don't really see many matches of them. D'Lo has an injured chest.
Oh yeah. You haven't seen the chest protector? If you watch enough,
I'd heard about the chest protector, but I've not seen the chest protector stuff.
Yeah, if you watch enough like D'Lo Brown matches, I don't know, pretty much throughout his career, it feels like it seems like it's nonstop. But yeah, he has a chest. He always wears the chest protector, and it's kind of like, helps him win when he does his big frog splash. So, but yeah, he had it forever.
The ref is still doing this like spinning move around his counts, where it's Tim White, I believe, is that his name, the bigger dude?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. When he goes down, he'll hit 1, and then he'll move like 2 feet, hit 2, move 2 feet, and so that he ends up like circling the pin attempt as he's counting. It just cracks me up that he has to move in between each smack of the mat.
Yeah. He lifts himself with the hand, with one single hand. He lifts himself off the mat and moves around.
JR and King end up kind of. Go ahead. Yeah.
I was going to say JR lost track of the Headbangers. He could not keep their names straight. And mind you, at this point, they'd been around for a while. They'd already had the tag team championships prior to all this, so it's almost a little unexcusable. But yeah, he was having a hard time keeping Mosh and Thrasher separated. I
mean, they look similar. They're not the Usos, but they look fairly similar, I guess, especially from like a medium distance. But yeah, JR's never been super great about that. They kind of end up tearing this match down as they discuss how impossible a pin is going to be. There's just so much action, and they're just constantly talking about it not being able to happen.
Right, well, because it's with 3 teams. I mean, it's like a triple threat match is hard enough. Now you have 6 people out there, so even if they manage to get the guy in the ring down, he still has a partner. I mean, if you think about it, it would be damn near impossible to get a pinfall with that many people around.
Oh, yeah, no, exactly. That's the thing is, like, all these kind of, like, multi-tag matches, it's like, well, it's going to be, we've got to come up with some crazy reason to get rid of most of these guys for a pin to be able to happen.
Yeah, absolutely. I noticed that when D'Lo did a hurricane off the top rope, King commented on how brave it was for him to do that because of his injured chest. The King was impressed with his bravery.
Okay. Do you have any more before the end of this match?
Road Dogg was beaten severely throughout this entire match. he must have won the rock, paper, scissors because Billy Gunn didn't participate too much. The Headbangers
You're right.
did the world's greatest tag team move, which I didn't know anybody had done before Shelton Benjamin and Charlie Haas when they have him and draped over the top rope holding his legs and the other guy bounces off the rope and jumps over him and lands on his back. Headbangers did that. I thought that was kind of cool.
That's a good move. Is anybody, I mean, I guess it gets used every once in a while, like indie stuff that I've seen, but is anybody even using that anymore in the WWE? I don't think so.
I want to say Jason Jordan and Chad Gable on NXT maybe have done it. I'm not positive about that, though.
That'd be cool. I was thinking it'd be a decent move for Tyson O'Neill and his team if you switch the roles to where Tyson was the guy jumping.
Oh, Titus O'Neill and Darren Young?
Or Titus O'Neill, yes. Yes.
Those guys just need to worry about getting on TV right now. And that move...
Well, maybe that move would help them.
That move probably would help. It would help. This was not a good match. It was kind of all over the place, and
no. I
don't think anybody understood the rules or how the triple threat tag team worked. It was not really pretty.
No, it's definitely not the best match on the show. It's not the worst match, I wouldn't say, but it's not good.
No.
Even though Billy Gunn does not participate in a lot of the match, he does get to pin one of the Headbangers. I like JR, had them confused, and I didn't write down who at the Headbangers. After hitting a pile driver.
It was Mosh, who was the unfortunate recipient of the pile driver from Billy Gunn.
Yes. So the New Age Outlaws remain tag team champions after the triple threat match.
And now, finally, we move on to the WWE title tournament final with Mankind.
Oh, my goodness.
Taking on The Rock.
We've been waiting all night. Through 13 matches. You have sat through 13 matches just to get to this point, and you have Mankind versus The Rock. Although they teased you with the possibility of Stone Cold versus The Rock. But you're not going to get that
which
here.
People would have liked to have seen. But honestly, at this point, I don't know how much anybody had even thought about that match happening. You know what I mean? Like, Rock and Austin had some history with the Intercontinental title, but I don't know how many people were probably sitting out there being like, man, I hope it's Rock versus Austin. You know what I mean? Like, that's the final I'm hoping for. I mean, I'm sure they would have liked it, but I just don't know if that was like a thought yet. You know, like the feud hadn't really started between those two. For the heavyweight title, anyway.
Yeah. So the match begins, and we get a tie-up at the beginning of this match, which I thought was interesting after an entire night of 13 matches with no tie-ups. Well, I think the ladies might have had a tie-up, but other than that, and then we finally get one this match. But real quick, I had a question for you about the Home Shopping Network.
Yes. Yeah.
What is that about?
Oh, there was this time back in the 90s when wrestling companies, WCW was guilty of it also, they would promote and run Home Shopping Network, hours of television selling their merchandise. Because, it's 1999.
I guess
the
that makes
internet
sense.
exists, but I'm not sure that, shop.com was probably pulling the people in quite as much as they wanted it to. So I think this was just a way that they found to sell their merch.
I guess it makes sense. It was just funny how he was like, yeah, immediately after this, me and JR, we're going to be live
I know, right?
on the Home Shopping Network. I was like, where are you sitting?
Main event for the title. And let's take a quick second here to remind you about the Home Shopping Network. It was definitely a little odd. We, of course, you can't forget we have another Boss Man appearance already in this match.
Yes, correct. Boss Man is back.
He is.
But I can't say that I was confused. Also, I'm sorry, I'm not confused. Another thing that was mentioned during this time was they decided to talk about WCW a little bit.
Both men somewhat cautious here. There's no time limit in this matchup, and we will stay with it until there is a winner.
John, you're going to get to see all of this pay-per-view.
That's not nice, King. Making reference to those less fortunate.
Not nice, but it's accurate.
Right hands by the Rock.
And they, of course, were talking about Halloween Havoc 1998.
Okay, so that one went off the air before the match was ending?
Yeah, that's the show that Hogan fought the Warrior, and then the main event was supposed to be Goldberg versus Diamond Dallas Page, and it just went out. And I can remember sitting at my friend Donnie's house watching the pay-per-view, and the clock struck 11 and the show went off the air. And we were helpless. You know, like I didn't know what to do. You know, like we were just like, what the fuck? You know, I mean, like there was no internet to run to. There was nothing we could, you know, like his mom was hot. I mean, hot as far as piss, I mean. Yeah. And she ended up getting a full refund on the show.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I thought that I'd heard there was a lot of refunds on that.
Yeah, so did a lot of people. It wasn't necessarily the nail in the coffin, but it was definitely a sign of things to come. Like that was maybe the tipping point where they kind of started to really go downhill as far as a company, you know.
Okay. So at this point we discover that not only is Big Boss Man here, but the McMahons and the rest of his crew have somehow eluded Stone Cold's car that was right up against their bumper as they left the arena, and come back to the arena now, and we get the best line from JR of the night, and I'm so glad that is the last part, but it is awesome.
This very day, and I'll be there. I am not believing this bull. Hey. Oh, look at him smile. Little swagger. There's Big John Wayne and Little John Wayne. And we swagger when we walk, because by God, we can.
Oh, man. Yeah, that was amazing. I had that written down here, too, because I loved that. God, he just talks about the McMahons with such disgust, you know? Like, he hates them.
He can't think of a person lower.
No, they're scum. But while all that was going on, I was surprised that there was no mention at all about the fact that regardless of who wins, there's going to be a first-time champion tonight. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if they said that one time throughout the match that, you know, whoever wins that, it's going to be the first time they've been the champion, and you know,
no, they definitely didn't say
something
that,
worth mentioning.
I didn't even realize that until you just said it. That is pretty crazy. Rock suplexes Foley on the floor, of course, and that was brutal. They fight into the crowd. Mankind takes a very nasty chair shot to the head that he runs into. Of course, Mick Foley loving those headshots.
Never one to go the other direction.
No, not quite. We get the old Foley elbow to the floor. You gotta love that move.
Oh, yeah, always. Yeah.
This is a great match, man. They go through like so many like just awesome spots. It's not over the top as far as like the later to come Royal Rumble match, but it's just a really good match, I feel like.
Yeah, and this was the beginning of the feud. You know, I mean, this was kind of a sign of things to come as far as these two. They would get to know each other really well between this match and WrestleMania. So.
Mankind leg drops Rock off of the announce table at one point in this match.
Right.
And then
JR scolded him.
Yeah, he did.
Scolded Mick for fighting on the table and scolded the ref for not making them get back in the ring. And then JR said he thinks he had a heart attack.
And then at this point, something is happening in the audience because the crowd completely stops watching the match and is just staring over to the side, and I have no idea what's going on. At some point, you do see some guys being walked out of the doorway just off to the back right, but I don't know what happened there. But the Rock and Stone Cold, the Rock and Mankind, they get them right back. Like, Mankind leaks from the turnbuckle through the Spanish announce table. It like
Missed
the stuff
it.
that
Missed
you
the
only
elbow.
see. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, on to
elbow
nothing. On to nothing.
to go through the announce table just by himself.
Yeah. But hey, the crowd was looking at them again. Shane was impressed, and I believe on that day, Shane McMahon realized that it was his destiny to jump flailing off of things onto people and steal all the shine from the boys. That was pretty much the night that he was inspired to do so.
I could totally see that being the exact moment that he was just like, you know what, I could just jump from shit.
Right.
I don't care.
Yeah, it's kind of like a half elbow drop, half flop off the top rope, and I just fall through things. But hey, I get shown in all the highlight videos.
Very true. Yeah. So at this point, Mankind kicks out of the elbow and puts a mandible claw on the Rock. The Rock fights back and breaks the mandible claw with a rock bottom. Like I just this ending sequence, it was very entertaining. Rock puts on a sharpshooter, and in a remake of a past Survivor Series in a certain Canadian town, the bell rings and The Rock wins out of nowhere because Vince McMahon calls for the bell.
And it was, I mean, I guess you can't blame him for doing this. And it was honestly, you said from a year, it was the previous year. It was just the year before. Yeah, it was 19.
I didn't realize that was 97. That's right. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, it was just you had just done that a year before. I mean, I guess it makes sense. It also gives Vince a chance to prove again that he screwed Brett. You know what I mean? Like, I pull the strings, I make the decisions, and I'll do it again. Damn it,
And they go through the whole what is the line that he says? The crowd screwed the audience screwed the audience.
Yeah.
Some shit like that.
He plays it well. I got to say, Mankind was crushed. How could you not feel bad for Mankind?
My God. I mean, you had this whole night of the crowd wanting to cheer for this guy, but not being able to because he's aligned with, the evil villain of the company.
Right.
And then finally it's revealed that the villain has turned on him. And all of that devotion and calling him dad and just that emotion, it was for nothing. And it's just, he doesn't give a shit about Mankind. No. And dude, it lit a fire. Like, that is just a perfect babyface moment. Like, that is awesome.
Oh, absolutely.
And I loved the point when he was discussing Aaron, he was asking McMahon, I don't understand what just happened. Like, I didn't quit and now The Rock wins.
Yeah, no, well, it wouldn't be the last time that Mick would kind of get screwed over in an I quit situation fighting The Rock. And I mean, and the crowd, what a great turn for The Rock. You know what I mean? Like, just,
oh my God,
maybe one of the last great heel turns. Just as far as, nobody saw it coming.
Yeah, the crowd was furious.
Yeah.
Like, they're throwing drinks and The Rock's yelling, hey, fuck you, right back to him. And like, it was intense and it was exciting. Even though it was a bullshit finish to the pay-per-view as far as, like, a pay-per-view of bullshit finishes.
Oh, yeah. It was definitely the cherry on top as far as bullshit finishes go. Like, and let's have, Vince call for the bell as soon as the submission holds applied. That's how we'll do the main event.
Yeah, so after Foley asks Mr. McMahon, he doesn't understand, The Rock just beats the shit out of Mick Foley some more, starts kicking him and, beating him up. And then here comes Stone Cold Steve Austin to send the crowd home happy.
Superman himself.
Yeah, so the Rock and Cold Stone brawl.
Hang on.
The crowd loves the stunner. Oh, go ahead.
You said Rock and Cold Stone. Rock and Cold Stone Creepery took the place down.
They got very excited when they introduced blueberries into the ice cream. So they had their brawl, and the crowd's loving it. He hits the stunner and chucks the belt at the Rock outside of the ring. And we have Stone Cold, and everyone cheers, and it's the end of the show.
And a beautiful marriage was formed. And you would see that. And another thing that happened while Austin was fighting The Rock, I don't know if JR realizes, but what are your thoughts on the phrase, he is beating him like he owns him?
It seems, I hadn't thought about it before. Seems a little racist.
Right?
I mean, I don't know, it's a little weird. Yeah, I don't know if I like that. It's uncomfortable.
It's one of those things that, like, I know I've heard it said many times by multiple people, like, in old sport, like, I don't know, just, it's something that used to be said, but boy, I haven't heard it in a long time. When I heard him say it during this show, my ears perked right up. I was like, oh my. Like, I haven't heard anybody use that term in a long time, and I think there's a good reason for it.
Was there like a movement in the 90s, like when they were like, let's get rid of the word bossy just recently? Was there a movement in the 90s where they were like, let's change it to being beaten like a redheaded stepchild instead of being beaten like you were owned?
Right. Yes. And now redheads all over the world have to suffer. I think it's time that they fight back.
Yes.
And we get that. We'll have to change the term again.
Yes. I don't know what we should change it to. I can't think of another like various type of person that you could select.
Well, you can't speak badly about anybody. I mean, it probably just needs to be retired. He beat him like he owed him money. How about that? I think that one worked.
He beat him like he was cleaning the welcome mat.
Whatever that means.
You've never cleaned your mats?
Oh, I see what you're talking about. Okay,
Let the dust out of them.
You go outside and you beat your welcome mat. Uh-huh.
Exactly. Yep. You tried to make that sound dirty. All right. So, what did you think of this show overall?
Oh, I mean, purely it was great from a nostalgic standpoint. It was this was a perfect period of time. We talked earlier just about the perfect storm of guys all being, on top and way over at the same time. And this tournament just really kind of put that, displayed the roster and just showed how deep and strong it was. Like I've said, I didn't care for, there was probably 12 screwy finishes out of 14 matches. But, it was still, for the overall, an entertaining show with a few highlights and a few, big matches.
This is kind of, at least from what's been explained to me in the various shows that I've watched from the Attitude Era, this seems to be very indicative of the Attitude Era, where it's a show that's very strong on feuds and story and in interesting angles, but kind of weak on wrestling as far as actual telling full stories, having good endings. It just seems like it's, as far as in comparison to the current tournament that's happening, it seems like the current tournament has focused more on just full wrestling matches and giving people a little bit of time to actually have a match versus the screwy finishes and crazy people that have been chosen and all this other stuff.
Well, and things were just a lot more character driven back then. Everybody had a big over the top persona, and there were stories that they were being told backstage with their mic work, and there was a lot of shenanigans taking place. It was just, I don't know, it was also Vince Russo. Let's just get to the point. There was just kind of that that style of writing, that screw the in-ring action. People want to see the promos. People want to see the comedy, and that was the stuff that kind of drove the stories a lot more back then than the actual in-ring action. So that was just kind of an effect of the time.
What would be, because Vince Russo, as far as stuff that I've read, it seems to be known for the style of swerve booking, where it's just anything that can be what people don't expect is what we're gonna do. And so what would be his defining swerve? What would be his sixth sense?
Oh man, that's a tough one. That's a tough one. I don't know. That you put me on the spot with that, man. I don't know. I can't even give you an answer to that. I'm sorry, but it was just always screwy. Just a lot of screwy finishes. I don't know. It was he didn't give a shit. It wasn't about necessarily a guy working an arm and winning the match by submission. He didn't give a shit about that kind of stuff. It was, let's bring this chick out and she'll distract him, and then someone will come out to fight with her. And then when they're fighting, the tag team that's feuding with the other guy in the match is going to come out, and they're going to distract the ref, and then the announce. There was just always a lot going on. You know what I mean? That's just kind of how it was. Every match, and it was a good thing too. Everybody always gives him credit about even the mid card matches mattered, and it's because there was a lot of shit going on in their matches too. Val Venus was getting his penis cut off by Kai and Tai, and there was even the mid card guys had a lot of shit going on. But there was very rarely, even when you go back and you watch these Attitude Era Raws that are on the network now, even the undercard matches, shit happened. There's just never just a fucking 5-minute wrestle a little bit, clean finish, let's move on. There was just something going on with everybody in every match, it seemed like. And it made for an entertaining time, but obviously it kind of wore out its welcome after a while.
Yeah, I could see that. It's very obvious as you watch the later, early 2000s stuff, how it starts to get a little bit stale with that kind of shit. As far as a recommendation to watch the show, I enjoyed this show as a sit-down, just because I was thinking about this the other day. Part of what I love about this show that we're doing is that I enjoy the idea of the format of a pay-per-view. It's different than everything else. There's less promos, there's more just wrestling, but there's a specific format that everyone follows when they go into their pay-per-views. You show quality matches, about 10 minutes of length, and they gain in length as we get to the end, and then it's the most exciting at the very end. But the idea of a format itself the format of a pay-per-view is what really I enjoy about watching some of these pay-per-views and being able to compare different ones. And as far as like one that has a driving storyline, you're going to be able to sit down, see a middle, an end, and a whole arc of a feud. This is a good show for that.
Oh, I would absolutely agree. You know, I mean, it's any child of the Attitude Era is obviously going to find a lot here to like, and I think a younger fan that's maybe only seen the current product could go back, and there's a lot of, hey, there's Steve Austin, hey, there's The Undertaker, oh man, there's The Rock. You know, like there's a lot of that to, I think, pull in even maybe a new fan that hasn't watched the old stuff, you know, because there is so much name value on the card. And like you said, it plays like a movie almost from the standpoint that, you know, the things start with looking one way, there's some swerve, there's a misdirection, there's a car chase, and then there's a backstab, you know. So I mean, it as far as a show goes, it definitely does a great job telling a story, you know, a easy to follow, thoroughly entertaining story throughout the pay-per-view. And, you know, so that's something else that I think people will appreciate.
Of course, yeah. So I would say if you're looking for a pay-per-view to watch, especially if you've been watching the current product and are enjoying this tournament, see what the tournament would have been like in 1998 and watch this show. I think it's worth it.
Absolutely, I agree.
All right, so do you have anything else to say about the show?
No. I mean, like I said, I recommend it. This is obviously, as far as a Survivor Series goes, is a rarity due to the fact that there were no classic Survivor Series tag team matches. So that was, you know,
and I think that when I read on Wikipedia, this was the first one that didn't have at least one classic Survivor Series match.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, it was something that, God, I can't remember. A few years after this, they did a Survivor Series with none. Like, they just kind of didn't announce it.
And they didn't have a tournament to, like, blame?
What's that?
I said, and they didn't have a tournament to blame as far as, like, why we couldn't do one?
Yeah, I can't remember, like, 2002, 2003, maybe? They just booked Survivor Series like a normal pay-per-view and just kind of didn't make a big deal about it. Maybe there was, like, the Elimination Chamber was involved. I can't remember, but it was still just kind of strange. And then 1991 Survivor Series, maybe, was the first year that the emphasis wasn't on all multi-tag team matches. You know what I mean? Like, I think the main event might have been Razor Ramon and Ric Flair against Macho Man and I feel stupid, and Mr. Perfect or something. I can't remember exactly, but you know, I think that was the first year where it wasn't just all about the 8 and 10-man tag team matches. So yeah, but for the most part, they've always at least tried to have one or two traditional Survivor Series matches, and it sounds like the one that Survivor Series is taking place, you know, as we're recording this show on Sunday, there's only going to be one traditional match. So that's a little disappointing, but with the tournament going on, it makes sense.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, and I'm interested in I was just thinking about it as you were discussing the you know, the phasing out of tag team matches, these multi-man tag team matches. That's off the topic. Let's let's get out of here. If you're liking the show, we are continuously updating at goldenagepodcast.com. You can follow us on Twitter at GrappleCast. That one's pretty simple. You can follow me on Twitter at Deadpool1205.
You can follow me on Twitter at BeyondSanity19.
Of course. And you can get on our Facebook group if you're looking for also a little bit of conversation, maybe, if you want to talk to other people that are listening. I don't know if anyone's posted anything on there except for me just promoting the show so far, but you know, if you got an idea for something, post it on there. It's an easy way to get a hold of us. You can also email us at goldenagegrappling@gmail.com. Hopefully, this is the week that we will submit to iTunes and hopefully be on iTunes. And after that, we would love if you would give us 5 stars and subscribe on there. But it's up to you. Hopefully we're there next week. We'll see how that goes. All right, so let's get out of here. I will say goodbye. See you next week as we watch another pay-per-view.
Absolutely.
Oh, wait, did you want to do... Are we going to do that Starrcade next?
Yeah, let's promote... Yeah, we're going to do Starrcade 1983 will be our next episode.
That is the next episode.
A flair for the gold.
All right, so next week, that is the show to watch. If you want to watch it before you listen to the review, go ahead and watch it. It's on the WWE Network. Check out WCW in 1983. It's the only pay-per-view of that year. All right, so we are out of here. Goodbye.
Bye.